Hi guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to be discussing a very interesting topic. We are going to be connecting two factors that are most predominant or very common when we talk about an investment thesis. One is the growth rate and the other one is the valuation. And I believe a lot of people, they go a little gaga over valuation, and someone who's gotten the investment checklist workshop, how to look at the entire concept of valuation. See, valuation, when we talk about it, by the way, in this video, I'm not going to sit here and start explaining about the metrics, about, PE, P by E, valuation, in depth. We're not going to go over there. For that, get the investment checklist workshop. Everything is connected over there. But we are going to talk about how valuation alone doesn't make any sense. Okay. Because when you talk about valuation, valuation is something that is dependent on growth. Without growth, there is no concept of valuation at all. Like every single thing, every single parameter is dependent on growth. When we talk about growth over here, we're talking about sales growth of a company. Okay, so when we talk about valuation, valuation is nothing but in a blanket statement. If I have to put in just a mere statement, if I have to put, valuation is a reflection of growth. It depends whatever the growth situation of the company is. That on that based on that only the valuation is dependent. Okay, so if you look at the entire concept of valuation, let me just start by sharing my screen. 1 second. I forgot to do that. Mm. Yeah, this is what I was trying to tell. Valuation is nothing but, like a reflection of growth. Now, what I mean by, valuation is nothing but a reflection of growth is, let's take an example of cricket. Okay. Now, I don't watch cricket that much, that often, but I think I'll be able to put that, put that example is, imagine you are a cricket player that, is going for an auction, an IPL auction. Now, if you have a really good performance, obviously you will get auctioned for, like a higher price. Now, let's say, for example, when Virat Kohli is getting auctioned, he will definitely get auctioned for a higher price than, let's say, somebody who's playing his Ranji Trophy from Tier 3 city or something like that. Why? Why is it Virat Kohli gets a higher bidding compared to, let's say, some normal Tier 2 Ranji Trophy player? It all comes down to what? Virat Kohli ka performance, right? Since Virat Kohli has performed, that is why he gets a higher valuation, right? Now, let's say there could also be some new player that is coming up, right? They also get a, but you see over one thing, it all comes down to one thing, that is performance. Similarly, over here, a company that is there, it keeps getting a higher multiple, a higher P on P on P. Over here the bidding process of cricket is equal to the, your valuation, which is your P, and the performance is equal to sales growth of the company. Okay, so the better the company performs, the better growth rate it has, the better flawless execution it has, the higher valuation it will keep getting. On the other hand, similar to, if you are a cricketer, if you continue to perform better, आपका जो value है as a cricket player, आपका जो auction होगा या वरना आपको नया series में जाने, you will be preferred most, right? आपका higher bidding में चलेगा. It is the same to same concept over here. Okay, now one thing, आप कोई भी business को देख लो, whichever business you want to take, all of the businesses, all of the stocks in the category, all of the stocks can be segregated into four categories. Okay, so here is the four categories we'll talk about depending on the growth and P. Okay, इसको हम चार category में हम divide कर सकते हैं. One is high growth and low P, second is high growth high P, third is low growth high P, and fourth is low growth low P. Actually मैंने इसके बारे में post भी लिखा Twitter में, I think just a couple of hours ago. Once I actually got up and I was writing that post, but unfortunately in that post I can't give you an example and explain everything, right? मतलब एक detail example देके I can't do an explanation. और मैं एक cycle, what I'll also do by the end of the videos, I will show you how a stock goes from this entire cycle. Case 1 से case 3 तक कहाँ जाते हैं, also उल्टा case 4 से case 1, case 2, case 3, how it comes to this entire cycle also I'll show it to you. It's just that post में it becomes very very difficult. यहाँ पे क्या होता है, एक PPT होता है, I can show you the charts and everything. It becomes easier over here also एक visual representation में थोड़ा how do I put it, it becomes easier to learn. Okay, so like I told you, there are four cases with every businesses. Okay, now whenever you are buying a stock, it happens that either the business falls in one of the three cases, like it will be there in a particular, either it could be in case 1, case 2, case 3, or case 4 at that moment. Now depending on which case you are buying on, right, it will determine how much money you can make in the market. Okay, so the first case let's talk about is high growth and low low P. Okay, now like you can see here, this is the best if you are able to find a stock in this category, right? If you are able to, like, by the way, all the stock goes through all the four phases, right? In har jagah mein any stock bolo, the entire process is a cyclical process. ठीक है, पूरा का पूरा चार प्रोसेस में भी, चार केसों में भी एक एक the stock goes has that journey. It is our opportunity, sorry, it is our job to find that opportunity or to find that stock when it is either in case 1 or case 2 में. ठीक है, case 3 or case 4 में, when you find that when that stock is going through that case 3 or case 4, you are supposed to avoid that stock. Okay, so like I told you, the first case, whenever you find a stock when जिसका growth rate high है but PE कम है, this is one of the best time to like to get that stock. Okay, now what do I mean by high growth and low PE? Okay, now let's say for example, I'll take an example and talk about it. Whenever you find, like last time when we found PGL, like very recent example I'll take, uska growth rate, they were targeting a growth rate I think around 35 to 40%, and I think we got that stock somewhere at a PE of 30 range, somewhere in that range. Right now, if you take an example again, you will see some stocks like Chandan Healthcare, which we discussed very recently last week, right? Jiska growth rate is high, 20 to 25%, 25 to 30% का growth rate target कर रहा है, but the PE lies somewhere between 15 to 20 in that range. Okay, now here is the thing, this is a time where the company is like literally not noticeable. It is laying out its plan. ठीक है, मतलब अभी कुछ नहीं कर, it is laying out its plan, मतलब capex करना चालू करता है, demand is going really well for them, and they are doing everything. ठीक है, this is a time to buy that stock. This is the first case 1 में, when the high growth is there and low P is there. Why? Because whenever you talk about a P re-rating होना चाहिए, there are two factors that come into play for P re-rating. One is it has to maintain high growth rate. Growth rate not only for its own performance and uska past performance. When I tell past performance is what? Like matlab it has to maintain a sustainable growth rate, right? But now uska pace of growth has to increase. Its pace of growth shouldn't come down. That is one thing. And the other thing is EPS, right? EPS जितना तेजी से बढ़ेगा उतना तेजी से आपका PE का re-rating भी होता है, right? This is why you will always see me, whenever I talk about a stock, I talk about two things: growth rate, operating leverage. Growth rate, operating leverage. So you need these two things. One is पहले आपको grow करना पड़ेगा, high growth rate. You have to maintain your pace of growth, and you also have to beat every single peer in your space, right? Like when we talk about the jewelry space, when you talk about the retail space, you automatically know who is that company, which company is that, which is maintaining its pace of growth rate and also beating its peers, right? And on top of that, what it should have a EPS का growth rate. EPS का growth rate में क्या होता है? You'll get a peak re-rating that can happen. So here what happens, because of the high growth and high EPS का आपका ऑपरेटिंग लेवरेज मिलता है एंड योर पी इज लो, ऑटोमेटिकली आपका पी का री-रेटिंग हो जाता है, बिकॉज ओवर हियर एग्जीक्यूशन बिकम्स फ्लॉलेस. नाउ वन मोर थिंग टू नोट डाउन, जस्ट बिकॉज इसका हाई ग्रोथ लो पी है, इट डजंट लाइक द ओनली वे, लाइक this high growth low P that is there, the only way this high growth low P will make money, right, when the execution is flawless, like what we have seen with Sky Gold, right? Flawless execution, right? They told they will do 3,600 crores in revenue, then 5,500 crores, now 7,600 crores in the upcoming year they will do, right? Since it was, even remember Sky Gold was a high growth low P engine, but since iska execution remained flawless, again please focus on the words that I'm using, since the execution is very flawless, uska P re-rating hota hai, right? It is like that cricket player, pehle it was, he was playing in this Ranji Trophy and everything, very sixer pe sixer marte hai har over mein, theek hai, high, very caliber, very nice player, but iska P low hai kyun? Because nobody has noticed him, okay? But ultimately itna perform karte jata hai, theek hai, matlab he hit sixer on sixer even in every IPL and everything, then he gets selected for what? He gets selected for your ODI series and test series. Now since the execution becomes flawless over here, ye P ka re-rating hone lagta hai. It is like the market starts noticing you. So every time you end up performing, every time you execute very flawlessly, it is like market is rewarding you. Aapka growth rate ke liye, once you start maintaining a particular kind of growth rate, once your growth is very fantastic, aapka execution is flawless, you start getting rewarded a higher P and higher P and higher P. This is the markets you are rewarding you for, like a good performance. Think about it, एक बच्चा है, ठीक है, एक स्कूल में है, टॉपर होते जा रहे, and it is that he becomes teacher's favorite pet. So that stock क्या होता है, case 1 से, since the execution is very flawless, that same stock moves from case 1 to अभी case 2 में जाता है, ठीक है? अभी क्या होता है, since it has performed really well over a period of time, इसका क्या होता है, उसका P बड़ा होता है, like it gets rewarded with a high P. Now you must some people might find a stock in this case 2, high growth and high P, ठीक है. यहाँ पे क्या होता है, that stock that is there, see now the market has rewarded you with a higher P because you have performed. Now you have to sustain this performance, sustain this high growth rate, sustain your pace of growth in order to show the market that yes, I do deserve this high P, right? So here also, if you can see, that is there, as long as that company continues to perform, as long as they continue to maintain that pace of growth, that execution remains flawless, आपका, the market will keep rewarding with a higher P and higher P and higher P, ठीक है. But now when it goes from high growth to high P, you are literally walking on fire. You're literally playing with the tiger. Because यहाँ पे क्या है, the market has rewarded you with a higher P because you have high growth. But tomorrow, for whatever reason, आपका ये high growth, it did not become low growth. आपका थोड़ा भी, आपका pace of growth कम होता है. Your growth rate tapers down. Our language that we use, the pace of growth comes down, right? Now, let's say, for example, I'll give you an example. A good example is PGL, right? You would have seen PGL went from high growth, high growth, low P. Okay, I do not know if I can. Okay, I'll take a. Let me just explain with the PGL chart. I think that would be much better. PG electroblast. How do I? Yeah, can you see this chart over here? Pehle it was low growth, as you can see over this, I think it was at this point where it was, it started becoming a high growth, low PE engine. Okay, matlab kya? Remember the same time, Q4 of, this is Q4 of FY25, Q4 of FY24, I believe, right? The same time last year when we were there, that was the first time the company came, summer was really good, right? And they gave a very, very strong guidance telling, like, summer itna acha hai that we will be growing somewhere between 25 to 30%, somewhere in that range. And the PE was low. The 1 year forward PE was low, somewhere around, probably in that range or lower than that. Okay. So at that time, kya hua, right? Slowly, the market started trusting it. This is where the PE rating happens. The first case. This is where when you find stocks in case 1, that is where you get your multi-baggers. Okay. Then kya hua? PGL started executing, right? Q1 mein aaya bombastic kind of result. They increased the guidance to 40%. Q2 mein aaya, again they increased the guidance, walk the talk and increase the guidance. And do you see one thing that was very common with PGL? They not only maintain the growth rate, but uska growth rate jo hai, badta hi gaya. Think about it. 26%, 37%, everything, I don't think it was here, sorry. 29%, 94%, do you see? The growth rate kept increasing and increasing. And what, kya hua yahan pe? Aapka jo, the entire, क्या हुआ, guidance was also maintained and the guidance was increased also, right? So क्या हुआ, यहाँ पे ये case 1 था, P rating हो चुका था. Then what happened? It came into case 2. You will see probably by Q2 of that FY24-25, in that time, right? It came into stage 2, right? Which is आपका which is aapka, the second case, which is high growth and high P, right? Now, high growth and high P mein kya hua aapka? It still made money, right? From Q2 to Q4 ka journey tha ye, right? It still made money, didn't it? It made, right? Because the growth rate was there, they kept increase the guidance. But यहाँ पे क्या हुआ, like I told you, you will make money in this second category, which is high growth and high PE. But यहाँ पे क्या है, you are walking on ice, you are walking on fire, you're riding the tiger over here. The minute the growth rate tapers, now think about PGL. Unka growth rate didn't fall in Q4 at all. What did they tell? They just reduced their guidance. जो company आपको 60% का guidance देता था, it just reduced the guidance, telling कि भाई मैं 30% से करूँगा. Again, it was not low growth, but growth rate घटने लगा. The pace of growth came down. Immediately यहाँ पे क्या होता है? It comes into case 3. Okay. केस 3 में क्या होता है आपका? लो ग्रोथ हाई पी, विच मीन्स व्हाट, आपका पी ज्यादा है पर ग्रोथ कम है. इन टर्म्स ऑफ पीजीएल यहाँ पे क्या हुआ था? दिस वाज अ स्टॉक ट्रेडिंग एट प्रोबेबली 80p 70p इन दैट रेंज एंड ग्रोथ रेट हैड फॉलन टू व्हाट 35%, राइट? अर्लियर यहाँ पे उल्टा था, 30% का ग्रोथ प्रोबेबली अवेलेबल एट 25p इन द फर्स्ट केस, देन इट वेंट टू प्रोबेबली 60p का है एंड ग्रोथ रेट इज आल्सो 60%, हाई ग्रोथ हाई पी. अभी क्या हुआ? लो ग्रोथ हाई पी हुआ, राइट? मतलब आपका गाइडेंस गॉट रिवोक्ड, इट बिकेम 35% बट योर पी इज 80. This is where you have to stop buying the stock, or you have to exit, or you have to cut position. The worst thing you can do is buying the stock in case 3, okay? Or if you find if you come across a stock, you're doing the analysis and you find it in case 3, or if you have a holding of yours which has reached the case 3 ka part, this is where you start to cut down, or you exit, or you stop buying the stock. Because yahan pe, this is where all the problem starts. This is where the P derating happens. In these two cases, you will see P rating happens. This is where the maximum P rating happens, right? Yahan pe, when I tell maximum P rating is, this is when aapka quickly आपका you get that P rating, मतलब 2 महीने में stock double हो गया. Here the time it takes, because high P में उतना ज्यादा P rating नहीं होता है जितना यहाँ पे. It is easy for a stock to become from 20 to 40 P versus a stock to become from 60 to 120 P. 60 to 120 P में आपका ज्यादा time लगता है from 20 to 40 P. I mean, this is not a number. Don't take the number over here into picture, but you understand, right? Low P से high P बनना, it becomes easy rather than to become from high P से another high P. ठीक है? Here, this is one thing you have to completely avoid, because this is where the problem starts to happen, because यहाँ पे guidance revoke होता है, pace of growth comes down, and here it is like as if you're catching a falling knife. Okay, and then क्या होता है? This is the last. यहाँ पे P derating होता है, and then low growth, low P. This is a completely avoid category. There is a reason कि these kind of companies that is there, they are low growth, there is low P, because यहाँ पे growth ही नहीं है. ठीक है? Now I'll give you some examples over here. Case 1, high growth, low P. Okay, these are either companies. Now over here, the only way, these are high growth and low P, but यहाँ पे P rating कब होगा? जब इनका execution top notch रहते हैं. These are few companies as of today which are in the case 1 category. But please remember, it is not necessary that every case 1 category will make money. Case 1 category will make money when the execution is flawless and when they move from case 1 to case 2. ये जो journey होता है, where a company moves from case 1 to case 2, when they move from high growth low P to high growth high P, इस journey में जो है, that is when you make money. Okay, so you have to spot companies in case 1 and write them all the way to case 2. Okay, this is when, and you write them from case 2 to case 3, and case 3 mein you stop adding, you stop adding, you exit, or you start cutting the position. I hope you understand. Please remember, again मैं बार-बार बोल रही हूँ, it is not guaranteed that you make money in case 1. You make money when a stock moves from case 1 to case 2. This entire journey that is there, you make money in this journey from case 1 to case 2 that is there. Now, for a company to move from case 1 to case 2, you will have, the company that is there, it has to provide with execution. Now, हमने देखा, right? I think you will see Rajoshi का channel में he's discussed Ayla Commodities, that काजू का company है, उनका capex अभी live हो चुका है. So there is a possibility कि इसका capex का live के वजह से they will be able to produce more cashews, and उसको growth rate आ सकता है. If that happens, then इसका I think that growth rate, if that is it can move from case 1 to case 2. Similarly, Chandan Healthcare also. Chandan Healthcare अभी देखते हो, it is targeting a growth rate of 25 to 30%. Capex करने लगा है, right? They're planning to add around 7 to 8 diagnostic centers alone in H2 alone. अगर ये हो सकते हैं, execution remains flawless, then इसका भी 15 से शायद 30-40 का PE भी हो सकता है Chandan Healthcare का, right? If again the execution remains there, then these two companies can go from case 1 से case 2 तक ये जा सकता है. Again, this is just an example I'm giving. Please don't take this as a recommendation to buy or sell. Again, I'll just put it out there. Otherwise, there is no way to explain. Case 2 में अभी कौन सा company है? केस 2 में कौन से कंपनी है? लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल यू कैन सी हाई ग्रोथ एंड हाई पी, एम्बर. ओके, एम्बर का Q2 का रिजल्ट नहीं आया. आई एम बेसिंग इट आउट ऑफ Q1 FY26. एम्बर इफ यू लुक एट इट ट्रेडिशनली ग्रोस एट 60 to 80 का 80% इन दैट रेंज, एंड उसका PE भी देखते हो, इट इज अराउंड 60 to 80. सो एज लॉन्ग एज ग्रोथ इज देयर, इट विल कंटिन्यू टू मेक मनी. बट जिस दिन ग्रोथ जाएगा, ऑल हेल विल ब्रेक लूज. सिमिलरली अनदर कंपनी इज इटर्नल, राइट? जोमैटो को अगर आप देखते हो, इटर्नल को देखते हो, it has maintained that 65% का growth rate. Please don't take Q2 FY26 का 178% growth rate into consideration. वो एक accounting changes के वजह से हुआ है. I will make a video and explain it maybe today. But उसका अगर आप इटर्नल का अगर आप जीओवी देखते हो, राइट, इन द B2C सेगमेंट, कॉन्स्टेंटली मेंटेन एट 65, ब्लिंकिट का जीओवी समवेयर बिटवीन 110 to 130%, that's what it has been maintaining, right? But it got listed only at high P, right? You will see, right, unfortunately with Eternal or any platform companies, ये जो new age companies है, IPO लेके आता है, they all want exit for their private equities, you know, and it gets listed in high P. Now, does that mean high growth, high PE will not make money? No. What did I tell? It has to maintain its pace of growth, right? Uska pace of growth बढ़ गया है because of Blinkit. And for the last 3-4 quarters, they have been maintaining that 65% का growth rate, right? There has been no doubt about it. Second, are they beating everybody in their space? Yes, because the closest competitor in the listed space is Swiggy. Are they beating its peers? Yes. Okay. Now, what is the thing over here? This company that is there, it will make money for you as long as execution is there. It will get rewarded with a higher to higher multiple. With Eternal, if you see, it was at I think 150p, 300p. I mean, it's not the right way. P is not the right way to look at it. But even to tell you, right, abhi 150p also people found it expensive. 350p hai, and in that journey, 150 se 350p rating hua, stock went from 150 to I think now to 280, somewhere in that range. But you saw it made money. Now, but riding Eternal is like riding a tiger. The minute वो 65% जाके 40 भी होता है ना, it is over. It doesn't matter. It is over. That is when all hell breaks loose. So when you are riding any business, any stock in the case 2 category, right, in this high growth, high P category, आपको सतर्क रहना पड़ेगा. You know that RBI का एक dialogue होता है ना, सावधान रहे, सतर्क रहे. I don't know if it is RBI or crime petrol. You have to be like that with the high growth plus high P engine. There is no, if you are someone who thinks कि like अरे मैंने पैसे डाल दिया, let me close my eyes and sit and you know let it will make money. No, you will probably see एक time पे पैसा बनता है and then after that you will see you would have also lost everything that you have made and probably your capital also starts depreciating over here. So there is a huge risk over here. There is, I mean, as long as if the company will execute, you will make money. Okay, and here your exit strategy has to be really good. When I tell your exit strategy has to be really good, you should be someone who is willing to track the company day and night. Whatever, when that update comes in BSE, boom, you go to the BSE website and you check, you're able to decipher and you're able to, like, you know, exit or cut, or you know, you're able to make that decision. You should know why you bought that stock and what will be the reasons you will be selling that stock for. So similarly, right, over here, as long as you know कि, like, you know, अरे इसका ये growth rate इतना होता है, then I will exit. इसका margins का इतना होता है, I will exit. That is when you will be able to make money and exit at the right time. यहाँ पे एक और चीज है, जब हाई ग्रोथ में हाई पी का जो भी इंजन है, यहाँ पे 19-20 भी कुछ होता है ना, then it is over. It is not just the growth rate. When I tell 19-20, यहाँ पे even if the operating leverage goes, even if the margins becomes a miss, right, then it is over for you. I'll give you an example here is Tinna Rubber, right? Tinna Rubber and Infrastructure. उसका it was a high growth low P engine. केस 1 में था, ठीक है. Then they continue to execute, right? उनका guidance जो था, they have done it and they went to high growth and high P. Okay. And the first thing that happened with Tinna Rubber is they started missing out on operating leverage. You guys can go watch that video of mine with Tinna Rubber, and you would have seen the first thing that happened was unka jo, you know, tire ka, you know, that commodity ka prices went up, logistics ka prices went up, and the operating leverage they were getting, the PAT ka jo bhi tha, it was because of, you know, the EPR credits that was there, right? It was not because of the main operations, right? It was not because Tinna Rubber zyada, you know, recycling ka tire बेच के उसका, you know, कुछ profit बन रहा है. It was because of that EPR credits. At that moment, the stock started falling down. It was at, I believe, at 1200, 1500, and you know, tuck गिर के आने लगा, right? This is the thing. Whenever you're going with this high growth and high P engine, right? Not just आपका growth rate, but every single parameter, आपका operating leverage, आपका, you know, margins, आपका PAT margins, everything is important, right? Another good example is Sirma SGS. You might have heard about this stock. Growth rate was fantastic, high growth, high PE था, ठीक है? But उनका क्या हुआ? एक product mix change हुआ, right? Earlier, those people were catering more towards उनका what is it? I'm forgetting it, यार. मतलब yeah, medical and क्या बोलते हैं, medical का, you know, उस division में they were catering more of this उनका वो PCB on all of that chips. Then क्या हुआ? They started in the last year the revenue contribution went more towards consumer electronics, right? Consumer goods. So earlier, I think consumer goods was hardly like 30%, and then I think it became 50-55% towards revenue contribution. कंज्यूमर में क्या होता है, आपका वॉल्यूम ज्यादा है बट आपका मार्जिन कम है, ठीक है. सो आपका वैल्यू ग्रोथ इज वेरी वेरी लेस. सो द एबिटा मार्जिन फेल फ्रॉम 13% to somewhere around 8 to 9% if I'm not wrong, or I think even lower than that. I don't remember the exact number, but I remember what had happened with that stock. You can go back and check. You can also refer to my videos. So that had happened, and that was enough for that stock to go from high growth, high P to, slowly start deteriorating. उसका P का derating होने लगा. Okay. Then क्या होता है, once उसका growth rate कम होने लगता है, P का derating होने लगता है, right? It becomes a low growth and high P. Like that's when it goes from low growth to high P. ठीक है. So a very common example is you have these big giants such as Colgate and Marico, which are in case 3 right now. But do you observe one thing that is there? Colgate and Marico जो थे, एक time पे it was this high growth low P engine. I think probably in the 90s or in the early 2000s, and that is when it made a lot of money for its shareholders. You will see all of the companies today that are there in the large cap are low growth, high P. But if you go back and look at it, these were the companies once upon a time which were in case 1, and then they went into case 2, and now they are in case 3. So do you understand, every stock एक journey होता है, and it is our duty to find it in case 1, ride it to case 2, exit it at case 3. ठीक है. So अगर आप देखते हो low growth, high P, you have the traditional stuff such as Colgate, Marico, HUL, Infosys, TCS, and everything, right? Which are currently. Then you have also some stocks right now. You would see, PGL हो गया, ACE हो गया, Action Construction Equipment, Anup Engineering हो गया, which are already in this phase. ACE का अगर मैं मेरा journey का बारे में बात करूं, the first time they came with the guidance, that in FY20, that when was it, I don't remember the exact timeline, but they wanted to double from FY21. I think they doubled it in FY24 unka revenue, and then the target was FY24 se FY27 tak again wo aur ek baar revenue ko double karega, something of that sort. And you might have experienced it, right? Matlab brilliant execution. हमेशा आता था, बोलता था 30% करता था, 50% का growth rate. Again they would come and revise the guidance in the अगला quarter and everything. But then there came a point, I believe somewhere in the last year, beginning of last year, Q1 of last year, I believe, right? They came and they told, we'll be revoking the guidance from 30%, usually what we tell, to 15%, because, 15 to 20%. That is when, again, that went from, high P to low growth. And you would have seen the entirety of last year, 24 to 25, whether it is H1 or H2, you would have seen the company has not performed. 15 to 20% ka hi growth kar raha tha, but the PE is somewhere, I believe, at 45 to 50. Similarly with Anup Engineering also, same to same. Abhi लो ग्रोथ हाई पी का एक बन चुका है. यहाँ पे क्या होता है, आपका पी रेटिंग इज इम्पॉसिबल टू से द लीस्ट, एंड अगेन इट बिकम्स वेरी वेरी डिफिकल्ट. ओके, then we have low growth low P. Low growth low P is that one stock you have to completely avoid, because यहाँ पे they are the stock that is good for nothing. मतलब इनका कोई expansion plans नहीं होता है. The management has no hunger for growth, nothing. ठीक है. There is a reason that these stocks are सस्ता. Now you might see in market there are many stocks that are lying in single digit P, मतलब 8 का P, 9 का P, right? And they'll be trading at a very cheap price also, and you will see people will go and buy सस्ता, because people think ज्यादा quantity है मेरे पास 10,000 शेयर है, then they think allocation in that terms, which is completely wrong. Please understand कि इसका ये जो low PE है ये सस्ता है because इसका growth नहीं है, the management has no ambitions or nothing. So this is the completely case that you have to avoid. But again, here is another point that I would like to mention. This case 4 that is there, case 4 का जो stock है, this case 4 can become case 1. Okay, this case 4 can turn into case 1, and it can go to again case 4 से case 1 बन के case 2 case 3. When can a stock go from case 4 to case 1? When the management comes and changes its tone. When I say changes its tone, जो management that has been sleeping all this while for the last 10-15 years, all of a sudden आके जोश में बोलता है कि like भाई, I'm seeing that the demand condition that is there has become better for my company. I'm putting up a plan, मैं ये capex करूंगा, वो capex करूंगा, मैं इतना guidance दूंगा, etc etc. then क्या होता है, ये वही low growth high growth बन के low P, then the market will wait for you to execute. When you execute, it will push you to case 2, then you will come to case 3 also once upon a time. A very good example of this is Kitex Garment, right? Kitex Garment has done nothing except for the last year. अगर आप देखते हो उससे पहले it had done nothing, right? It was sleeping, slumber में था, ठीक है? मतलब very terrible for the last, I think after COVID, if you had seen, if it weren't for that pent up demand, the last 3 years before that was horrid for the company. Then the management came and told what? Hamare demand condition is getting better. Export orders are getting better. They came and they gave a guidance that by FY20, by this FY25, we want to achieve 1,000 crore in revenue. Okay? So it became a high growth, low P engine. I still remember, I think it was a 70, 75%, not 70, I think 60, I'm not really sure. You can go back and watch my Kitex ka pehla video. At available, I think at 35 to 40 P somewhere, like high growth, low P. Then they continue to execute, P का re-rating हुआ यहाँ पे, and then ultimately Q1 of FY26 उसने टट्टी किया ना, मतलब sales growth ही नहीं था उसका, ठीक है, low growth हो गया, high PE बन चुका, ठीक है. So did you see any stock can go from case 4 to case 1 also and go through the entire cycle of case 1, case 2, case 3, provided what, right? These people have hunger, they have that, and then they execute and continue to execute for that matter. Now we will see of some stocks that are there, which has gone through all the 4 stages that is there. And why am I taking these names is because these are the names that has been there in my portfolio at one point of a time, and I have played it, across that category. And I think I've also taken these 5 names because there is a record of all of these 5 names on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. If you go back and just browse through all the videos that are there, you will probably you will find videos for everything from the time when I discussed the business model, and there has probably been every single quarter where I've tracked the company. And I think if you're a little bit smart enough, it's just the way I talk, you will be able to understand. The company has gone from case 1 to case 2 to case 3 to case 4, like you will see that entire journey that happens over there. Okay, actually I think I should have done it ulta. I should have put this case 4 as case 1, and like that I should have put it, right? Like I think that would have been better. But anyways, let's now start with each and every company that is there. First, let us start with, I'll just start by sharing. Okay, first let us start with PGL, right? I think we've already explained it. This was in last of Q4 में अगर आप देखते हो, right? It was a low growth, low P engine. मतलब यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हो, hardly anything. It was a decent engine. Q4 में आके guidance को बढ़ाते हैं, and then the stock slowly starts to climb up. Then in Q2, Q1 they come and they execute it. This fall, I remember, I think this was that. I do not know. This June का एक fall था. This is Jan 24, March 24, somewhere in June, which was due to that election ka time. Okay, but anyways, I think somewhere here, yeah, this is when the stock started climbing up because guidance was very strong, right? Execution hota raha, high P ban gaya stock at one point, and then later, over here is when all hell broke loose, because that's when I think you would have seen the company come and talk about ki like uska jo summer is not that great and everything, right? So that is where the entire all hell break. Now look at here, when it went from high P high growth to high P low growth, look at the very sharp derating that happens. Now you understand what happens when you buy the stock over here. You will literally it's like you're preparing yourself for losses, right? That is the thing. Then we can check for Tina Rubber, right? How it moved from case 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. Actually, it should have been ulta. Now that I'm making the video, I realized case 4 should be case 1. Like it should have been that way. See, pehle yahan pe you can see low growth, low P engine. मतलब कुछ नहीं करता था यहाँ पे, right? Now, if you go back and look at it, where is this 21? Somewhere over here. Absolutely not. We don't have for previous quarters, right? You will see over here nothing. मतलब low growth, low P. Then the management becomes a little bit assertive in terms of guidance, right? मतलब थोड़ा assertive बनने लगता है. यहाँ पे I still remember the first time that I saw it was one of the Q2. It was Q2 of some year. I don't remember which year it was. Q2. Again, you will see there is a video that I've done in YouTube called "My Journey with Tina Rubber." I still remember it was a Q2. I don't remember which year of Q2 it was. And they had come with this guidance. Like, I was just scrolling through PPT one day and I was like, I still remember the last, probably the page of the PPT was they had given this vision 2027, where they wanted to grow the revenue by 25% CAGR, profitability by 33%. They wanted to go from four plants. They had four manufacturing plants, from 4 to 10, and manufacturing capacity was supposed to go from 80,000 metric tons to 240,000 metric tons, somewhere in that range. I remember the data. I still remember. You can go back and check. I don't remember which PPT it is. Vision 2027 बोल के एक circle in green color, and it had like all these spikes and everything. That was a point where the stock was at high growth, low P, because I think it was somewhere at like a 25% growth, but the PE was somewhere between 20 to 22 at that particular point of time. Okay, and then the Agla quarter comes, execution is brilliant. After that, the 3-4 quarters that were there, execution was top notch, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant execution. And now, because of that brilliant execution, what happened? The stock went from case 1 to case 2. It went from low growth, high growth low P to high growth high P. After that, it went from high growth high P. I think it was somewhere over here, not here. यहाँ पे एक volatility हुआ था. High growth high P में क्या हुआ था? Like I told you, you have to sustain your growth rate. You have to sustain your operating leverage, your margins, and everything. Here, a small crack started happening with Tina Rubber, which is unka operating leverage, like I told you, was it became a miss. I mean, if you look at screener, if you look at the income statement, you will feel like iska to PAT is growing at a faster rate than that of sales. But if you understood the business model in depth, you would know that the PAT that is there, it came only and only because of the EPR credits, not because of core business operations. Okay, so that is when I tell, like, see, it is very important. आप जो business कर रहे हो, मतलब टिन्ना का recycling का business is more than selling your credits. If that is where the profit is not coming from, and वहाँ पे crack आ गया था कहाँ पे? Because logistic cost became more. Logistic cost, why? वो Israel and Hamas का war that happened, because of that. I will never forget this. It's because of that उनका logistic cost went up, the raw material cost went up, and that is where all hell started to break loose. And finally, it got reflected in sales growth also. मतलब उसका pace of growth कम होने लगा and everything, right? It was a given that it will happen, and yeah. It was done and dusted. So that, again, like I told you, high growth high P से वो क्या हो गया? High P low growth P बन चुका. Then after that, we have another thing. We have Metro Brands Limited. This is one of my other favorite stocks. Again, with Metro Brands also same thing. When it came in IPO, not much at that time they didn't have. Then came post-COVID era, when we had a lot of pent-up demand. Okay, and at that time, what happened with Metro Brands? A few things I'll tell you that happened with Metro Brands. One is, like I told you, if you look at the entire footwear space, there were two major things that happened. One is the GST. I think the GST went from 5% to 12%. That was increased. Second was COVID के time में क्या हुआ था? आपका पूरा supply chain का इधर उधर हो चुका था. The rubber का, and right, for footwear, rubber is the most important raw material. And rubber ka price went up 3x. Okay. And at that time, you can go back and check. I think this was 2021. Go back and check. Any single company, Relaxo, Khadim's, Liberty, I do not remember, Mirza International, Campus also, any of these companies, if you see, they suffered a lot because of this GST का change. Because if you are already selling, आपका 500 रुपए का चप्पल है, right? And उसमें अगर 5 से आपका GST हो चुका है 12%, right? Ultimately, and remember this, if you are selling 500 rupees का चप्पल and below, you can't increase the price because it becomes a pinch for the user, right? Pinch for the customer, right? So all of these people, they were not able to increase the price. If they increase the price, they lost market share to unorganized players. Okay, that is one thing. If they don't increase the price, वहाँ पे margins नहीं रहा because raw material का price इतना बढ़ चुका है. Bata, Khadim's, Liberty was the most impacted over here because of this situation, because उनका more than 50% of the portfolio comes from below 500 rupees INR का चप्पल. Versus Metro Brands, यहाँ पे वो जीत गया because they had majority of the product portfolio coming from 3,000 rupees and above, because Metro is a little bit of an aspirational brand, right? Not premium, I wouldn't say, but aspirational, थोड़ा सा aspirations to premium brand. They like, उनका mochi and everything, that brand. And these people continue to grow, मतलब 35 to 40% को growth rate करने लगा. Pent up demand में था, and on top of that, because of these two situations, the other players got completely wiped off, and these people started posting brilliant set of numbers. Okay, nobody, and you will see metro brands made money. Then came a point, I think in 2022 or somewhere in that time, I don't remember exactly when, where the growth rate that is there started stalling, because we are operating on a higher base now, because pent up demand chala gaya, everybody is going to office, the demand has normalized. Last year ka higher base आप operate करो, the growth rate fell from 45, 35, 30, 25, 18, and then it started growing in single digit 12%. And then after that, they acquired this fila where they lost the entire operating leverage because of the stupid fila ka inventory, and it was all hell break loose. At the same time, जब इनका pace of growth घटने लगा, there Mirza and Red Tape का, that demerger happened, and Red Tape started growing faster. Then क्या हुआ? All the attention went to Red Tape, and Red Tape, which was a high growth, it was first a low growth, low P. It went from low growth, low P to low growth, high P. Sorry, what am I telling? Low growth, low P से वो बन चुका, the case one, high growth, low P, and that also went into that entire case one to case two to case three, right? It went. So this is also another thing, as you can see, right? Entire journey you can see. Like I told you, either you will find, whenever you're analyzing a stock, you have to figure out which case it lies. If it lies in case one and case two, you will make money. Case one, obviously, you have higher probability of making money compared to case two, right? But avoid when you enter case three and case four ka category. Okay. And then we have ACE. I will show you ACE also. Again, why do I know this? Like, I do not have any script. You can see my screen also, right? Like, because why am I able to remember this with so much detail is because I have been in this journey with all of these stocks. That's why it's like ingrained in the back of my head. It's literally in my heart, right? Because I have gambled with my own money. I don't think gambled is the right word, but I have played with my own money over here. So I have experienced it. I mean, if anybody has got that experience, where you find something, where you find that, and then you write that whole thing and then you exit, it's just I think there is some sort of like achievement that you feel over here, and you can never erase it. Like you just can't. Even when I'm talking about these businesses right now, as if I'm talking to you, it's like as if I'm reliving those memories once again. Like it's literally that, because it's when you go through these journey, right, that emotion sticks with you. When I tell emotion is because when you've held a particular stock for a year and whatever, right, and you've gone through that journey, because in between the result season there is so much volatility that comes. I still remember PGL, because it was after Q1. I think, I don't know whether it is Q1, no, between Q4 and Q1, when there was that June and July, when was it? We had that election, right? I think 7th or 8th of June or something, the 4th or 5th of June. The 2 days, the stock fell, tuck, 12%. I think in just a span of 2 days, it fell like 20 to 25%. So imagine you've seen the stock make money, and then you like, boom, you like see everything being lost also in like 2 days, like literally quarter of the value, right? Like that. Experiencing that is completely different. Like you can read all the investing books you want, you can read everything you want, it is just you can't. Similarly with Tina Rubber also, I still remember I bought the stock, and once I bought the stock fell 20%. And that also makes you doubt ki like like are yaar itna acha hai, matlab or stock gir gaya. And there has been a point, I believe, in Tina Rubber multiple times, again because of the June 5th election ke time also. I believe the stock fell from 1200 to 900 range. Again, it went up all the way. After that, it rallied until 1600. So it's just that when you're talking about this journey again, you're reliving that emotions. Okay, you're reliving that entire journey you went through with that volatility, that fear, that happiness, right? And I do not know if I can like probably put it in words. Probably like like I don't know how to like put it probably in better words. It's just that I hope you're able to experience the emotions that I went through as I'm talking through the video, or maybe you'll be able to relate it with your own journey with a particular X or Y or Z stock, and you probably are able to understand what I'm trying to convey over here. So similarly with action construction equipment also, right, you will see you see over here how the sales growth has been there, right? There was a time where they were growing. Can you see? Very brilliant set of numbers, and then the growth rate tapered. Can you see? This was a time. Oh, remember I told you एक Q4 को कॉन कॉल में उन्होंने आके बोला था कि like ये जो growth rate है, they will not be able to, they're discounting the growth rate from 30% to 15 to 20% बोला था उन्होंने, 15 to 20%, because monsoon season था, elections tha, monsoons, elections, and there was this regulatory change that was happening. They were moving from BS3 to BS4 for some vehicles and BS3 to BS5 for some vehicles. And that is when I had actually exited this before the result came. I'll tell you why. If you look at ACE, there is this one portal, a government portal hota hai, where you can get to see how many amount of vehicles you have sold in a particular month. Like you get a month on month data, right? Like June 24 versus June 23, aapne kitna sale kiya. So every time when you see, their volume growth used to be between 30 to 40%. And that quarter, if you see for that month, for the combined months of, I think, April, May, and June, it was somewhere at 12 to 15%. And if you go back, if you are on Twitter, you can go back, like if you really scroll through my profile, there is also a post on this also. Like I had written a post on this too, because at first, when I wanted to exit this, at first, after looking at the Q4 con call, I stopped adding because I had played this entire journey of high growth, low P. Then the stock had re-rated, and had become high growth, high P. At this point, it was a 40% का growth engine available at around 45 to 50 P. Okay, 40% is a high growth only, right? 45 to 50 P था, ठीक है, यहाँ पे at this particular point. And when they had reduced the guidance in that Q4 का call, I was a bit hesitant to sell. Okay, because this was that one stock that was really close to my heart. Was also because every time I would always bounce off my ideas with Rajoshi, and I would be like, and this was the one stock he didn't buy. And I was like, I'm going to play this. And that's why it remains very close to my heart for the same reason. And here what had happened was in this particular point, if you look at it, I was a bit hesitant to sell because the ACE was also the kind of management that increases the guidance every quarter. Okay, matlab, that is how they are. And I was like, शायद ये अभी बोल रहे 15 to 20%, maybe आगे जाके in Q1 में, they might increase the guidance, right? So I didn't want to sell it, but I stopped adding it, like I told you, because it had gone from high growth to high P engine, right? And at that point, when you're hearing even a little bit of a negative news, you stop adding. So I didn't add. But यहाँ पे what had happened, and then I got the data, I was like, screw it, let's sell. I sold literally almost 60 to 70% of my holding, and then the Q1 result comes, I sold everything. Now because of this, you will see in PGL, before the result came, I sold everything, like literally 80-90% of my holdings I sold because of this same experience. Like, I used to think the same thing, like aage jaake shayad management, will increase the guidance or no. ACE taught me, like jo management bol raha hai, like if you trusted that management to increase the guidance and execute, you should also trust that same management when they're coming and telling you like, bhai, main guidance ko reduce karta hu. That is what ACE taught me. That is why, my exit strategy with PGL had been so brilliant. Okay, so that is the thing. So then, as you can see, high growth, low P at one point. Just remember these numbers, and we'll go to the chart. You will see high growth, low P, and then it reaches high growth, high P, and then at this point you will see यहाँ पे after the Q4 का result, you will see over here it becomes low growth, high P, and then you will see derating chalu hone laga. Now, if anybody had bought the stock at this point, absolutely no, they would have never made money. And you will also see over here, right? Matlab, can you see? Even if you had bought the stock over here when it was a high growth, high P, you still had a chance to make money. But what did I tell? Your exit strategy has to be very, very good over here. Okay, so that is that. And I think the last stock that we will discuss is RACL Geartech. This is also one of the stocks that's very close to my heart. You can watch a video of this probably in my YouTube channel in the business analysis playlist, because this RACL Geartech are one of the few videos I started to make when I first joined Twitter. And probably you can also see how my confidence and the way I talk has changed over the years. Because at first I used to be really, really scared to make a video. If you look at RACL Geartech, that was one of the first few videos that I made. Metro Brands Limited, RACL Geartech, ACE, these are all multi-baggers at one point for me. And at that time, when I started off the journey on Twitter, I was really, really scared. I was like, who would want to listen to like a 23-year-old, 24-year-old, right? Like, makes no sense. Like why would anybody want to listen to someone like me? And you can literally see that in my videos. Like, I used to be like so scared to talk. But anyway, similarly with RACL Geartech also, can you see? Peleta, low growth, low P, absolutely good for nothing. Management had no hunger, no zeal, nothing, no capex plan, nothing. And then then comes a point where they started having उनका एक product mix change हुआ. They went from उनका three-wheeler से they reduced the contribution from three-wheeler, started pushing more to four-wheeler. They got their own plant. उनका जो I think two plants, Shakti का एक plant था and some other plants. You can go back and refer to that video. I don't remember the details much. This was also the company that got a lot of shit for being low ROE, like इसका ROE कम है, कैसे fund करेगा and everything. And this is also one of the stocks that taught me कि like how to look at ROE. You have to look at ROE on an incremental way, like what is the direction of ROE. This is one stock that taught me how to look at ROE also. So it went from low growth to low growth, low P, to high growth, low P, started executing high growth, high P, and then finally it became, high P, low growth. Why am I telling this over here is I think unka guidance was 25 to 30% and what 5,000 crore in revenue or something. I don't remember exactly what it was because this is very long back. And then they were not able to meet the guidance after a certain point. There were a lot of issues that came and everything. So you can just go back and check that video of mine. Like I currently don't remember. See, can you see over here? At once upon a time, see growth rate kaisa tha. Then the growth rate slowly started tapering off, and eventually यहाँ पे growth ही नहीं रहा. And remember what I told you, you do not have to stop being low. Like ultimately आपको low growth होना चाहिए. आपका pace of growth थोड़ा भी कम होता है ना, then it is all hell break loose. And here it is an example of that. Can you see over here? The minute the growth rate started tapering off, you will also see the stock started moving. यहाँ पे now you understand why I keep constantly talking about pace of growth, right? Like when the minute that pace of growth comes down, it is completely over for that stock. So that is the thing with this entire valuation and growth rate. And you will see one thing over here, right? We didn't take P and then connect growth rate. What did we do? We saw growth rate and then connected it to the P, right? So this is what I'm trying to tell. P जो है, just let's say there is an X stock, Y stock, Z stock, whatever stock that is, ABC stock है, उसका P जो मिलता है, उसको reward होता है, it is ultimately a factor of growth rate. जितना तुम तेजी से भागोगे, जितना तुम अपना competitor को beat करोगे, उतना आपका P बढ़ता ही जाएगा. P is nothing but a reward for the growth rate for your performance that you have done. P is nothing but a reflection of growth rate. It is not the other way around. This is why I tell you have to understand the business model. Once you understand the business model, you understand the growth rate. Once you understand the growth rate, then everything else will make sense for you. Our inventories, receivables, payables, cash flows, and everything. None of this will make sense for you. None of it. You will not be able to understand valuation if you don't understand the business model, because अगर आपको business model समझ में नहीं आता है, you do not understand anything about it, and then comes the growth rate, and then with growth rate you get the everything. Otherwise it becomes impossible for you. So please understand that, and if anybody has gotten the investment checklist workshop, you know, right, how to connect growth rate with all the other parameters. Today I connected growth rate with valuation, and I showed you how everything is nothing but a reflection of growth rate. In the investment checklist workshop, what we have done, we have connected growth rate to inventory, with receivables, with payables, every single factor, right? And you know very well कि like जब वो growth rate में थोड़ा सा भी आंच आता है, थोड़ा सा भी काला दाग आता है ना, that is when everything, all hell will start to break loose. Okay, so that's it guys for today's video. I hope you all had a lot of fun listening to this, and wish you guys a very happy Diwali also. I hope you all are having a really nice time spending time with your families. Eat less sweets, but have a lot of fun. Unfortunately, it's raining here in Bangalore in Diwali. It's kind of really sad, because one thing that I really like about Diwali is bursting crackers. I see a lot of the kids in the apartment in my neighboring areas, they burst crackers and everything. And it reminds me of my childhood. We used to get that Diwali mein, there used to be that firecracker cake box, different. So it reminds me of that. So yeah, I hope all of you have a very great and splendid Diwali. If you're bursting crackers, just be safe. Please take the precautions that you need, and eat less sweets. Spend a lot of time with your family, and this Diwali, I think the message of Diwali is very short, right? That you overcome the bad with good, right? And I hope each and every one of you can, beat every single bad things in your life. That is, overcome obesity with health, right? Beat all the bad things in your portfolio. Stop giving your control of your portfolio to other people. Take control of your portfolio. Be a little bit independent. That's all I would ask of you. That's only my Diwali message that is there. And I hope each and every one of you have a really prosperous Diwali, guys. And that's that. And bye.